Welcome back to Eliances Heroes, where heroes in business align. To be part of our super community and find out more about Eliances, visit www.Eliances.com. Now, back to our super host, David Kogan, founder of Eliances.
And what a show it's been. I mean, later on in the show, we're going to have the investor solutions from Direct Source Wealth, the vice president, on how to build time freedom, Travis Watts. So make sure you go to directsourcewealth.com/hero. And by the way, thank you for the feedback we continue to get from our interview with the executive producer of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie, both 1 and 2. So thank you so much. Let's talk about our next hero. Now, you may not recognize his name, but you will definitely have heard his voice. You know his work in animation like Pinky and the Brain, Animaniacs, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, and a gazillion of others. That's right, we have with us Rob Paulsen, who could be reached at robpaulsenlive.com, or of course, we'll have it on our website, Eliances.com. Now that's Eliances.com, the only place where entrepreneurs align. Rob, how in the world does it feel to be able to get paid for talking?
Oh man, well, you could ask yourself, couldn't you? It's the best gig in the world, as you know. I essentially get paid to do it. It used to get me in trouble in 7th grade, and for some strange way, I've been able to fool the folks out here in Hollywood for almost 40 years, and I don't know what that says about their ability to recognize somebody who's trying to fool them, but it's a remarkable way to make a living, David, and I'm telling you, you're talking to a lottery winner. Every single day, I think, I cannot believe I get to do this. Moreover, with whom I get to do my job with. Most gifted actors in Hollywood, utterly devoid of pretense, and they're all just really great people, but are stupid talented. It's a great gig.
But Rob, how did you know at what point in your life that you had the voice that you can actually make a living doing it? Because that is, there's not many people in the world that could do that.
No, as I said, I'm incredibly fortunate, and I know it. I didn't come here to do this specifically. I came from Michigan. Literally 40 years ago this year, 1978. I packed up my little Honda and left my mother, just like in the movies, standing on the front porch in tears, and drove out to L.A. And I came out here ostensibly to do live action, and I was for the first, 6 or 7 years. A lot of television, episodic television, a lot of on-camera commercials, half a dozen movies, and a bunch of radio stuff. I just wanted to work. I was primarily a singer who had spent a lot of time on the road doing theater after becoming a singer. And so I thought it was time to come and play in the big boy pool. And the opportunity to read for animation came up in the mid-'80s. So it was probably about 6 or 7 years after I got here. And like any other actor, I just wanted to work. And so when the chance came up to audition for animated projects, I jumped at it. And those projects turned out to be Transformers and G.I. Joe in like 83, 84. And it didn't take me long to think, man, this is the gig. Nobody cares what I look like. There are a million average-looking white kids from L.A. who come out here, and I'm one of them. And I am not – nobody cares if I fit the suit. It's great. I started working with incredible actors, Frank Welker and all these folks, Peter Cullen, and yeah, it was cool. So I jumped at it. And then one thing led to another, and ultimately I phased out the on-camera stuff, and I'm glad I did, because now I'm 40 years older, and they still don't care what I look like. It's great.
I love it. Amazing. And we're talking again with Rob Paulsen, who could be reached at robpaulsenlive.com. He is the voice of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, and a gazillion of others. And you're listening to me, David Kogan, host of the Eliances Hero Show. That's where entrepreneurs align. Make sure you go to Eliances.com. That's Eliances.com. So, Paul, tell us, share with us some of the voices and the name of each voice so that our listeners can know.
Well, let's see. I was Yakko Warner on Animaniacs. Hello, David. Hello, Glue. I know you're listening.
Let's see. And then Pinky from Pinky and the Brain, and Raphael in the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And hearkening back to the fact that no one cares what I look like, I just finished 5 years doing Donatello on the most recent iteration of Ninja Turtles on Nickelodeon with a 25-year gap. And you mentioned Jimmy Neutron. I was a little fat guy named Carl, who was Jimmy's friend. And, oh, my God, Arthur from The Tick. And I was the animated version of Jim Carrey in the Mask cartoon years ago. And before that, it was all the Disney afternoon stuff, DuckTales and Goof Troop and Gummy Bears and all that, and Tiny Toon Adventures. And last few years, it's been Fairly Odd Parents and all this stuff at Nickelodeon and Doc McStuffins at Disney. And so, yeah, I get to go to work every day and wear jeans and a T-shirt. Pretty cool.
Now, here's the thing. Rob, everybody thinks that it's easy to do and you're just right on. How do you get in the frame of mind to be able to do one of these characters, and how do you rehearse? Because it's you.
Well, we rehearse both on our own and when we get to work. I get the script for whichever show I'm fixing to work on a couple of days in advance and go over it and make some notes and get to work. And then whichever studio I happen to be working for, we run through a few things with the other actors. And it's much preferable, certainly to me, to be around other actors because they all make me better. That old axiom that a high tide raises all boats is really true. So we rehearse a bit in the studio, make some notes, record, go back and do some pickups and tweak it, and then that's it. Then I move on to the next one. It is not nearly as involved as putting together a stage play or a movie because we don't have to worry about things like sets and lighting and learning lines and remembering lines and all that. We have the scripts right in front of us. The biggest part of my preparation is completely being in the purest sense of the phrase, completely not self-aware. That is not self-conscious. You can't be worried about sounding or acting like a complete goofball because that's your job. You might be a talking toaster or you might be a talking Ninja Turtle or something. And so it really is about letting go of the fact that you're a grown-up with a wife and a son and bills and all that, and you walk into work and you play. And improv is a big part of my gig. The scripts are always, by and large, very clever and fun, certainly in shows like Turtles and Animaniacs, great music. But they also inspire us to improvise a lot. And once you really inhabit a character, you can start to chat all day long in a particular character, whether it's SpongeBob or Bugs Bunny or Yakko or Pinky or whatever. I can carry on a conversation all day, and that's when you know you really got something. It's not dictated by the content; it's dictated by the depth of the character.
Absolutely incredible. And I got to ask you this, and I think this is important for our listeners to know. Well, for example, let's say if you're a sprint runner, the worst thing that could happen is you lose your legs. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're a pianist, the worst thing that could happen is you're not your fingers. You lose your fingers or something happens.
Yeah.
So what's the worst thing that could happen to somebody who's a voice actor, Rob?
Well, that, folks, is called a professional segue, and we're segueing into my recent bout with stage 3 squamous cell carcinoma that happened to be in my throat. And it was definitely a life changer. Ultimately, the life changing has, I think, been virtually all for the good. But honestly, David, when I was diagnosed 2 years ago in February with throat cancer, I'm not a smoker. I felt fine. I'm athletic. All of that stuff. It's just one of those things. But it wasn't like I was 25 years old. It wasn't like I had 2 little kids and, my goodness, how was I going to see them grow up? I was already a fellow who had a remarkable run. And even if they had said, look, you better get ready because you're going to punch your ticket, I've had a hell of a run. But they didn't say that. They said, this is very curable, very treatable. The treatment, unfortunately, is quite onerous. And you're going to wish you were dead sometimes. And it was true. However, it was my turn. We all know somebody right at this moment. We have people listening to us who are dealing with very difficult circumstances. And often it's people whom they love and they would trade places in a heartbeat with their child, for God's sake, who's dealing with something really horrible. And oftentimes the children don't make it. And I, as a result of my work for years, had talked to kids on the phone as, Pinky or Raphael, and not just me, we all do it. Go visit them in hospitals. I can't not do it. I have my own healthy child. But all these children and their parents, unbeknownst to them or me, were really, talk about heroes. I mean, there are all these anonymous heroes doing things right at this very moment that we can't even comprehend. And by their examples, they really set me up to be able to deal with my own difficult circumstances.
Sure,
so
absolutely.
Having had that to draw on, and keeping in touch with parents who've lost their children to a neuroblastoma or leukemia or whatever, it really helped me keep my own difficulty in perspective. And don't mistake me, it was very difficult physically, but nothing compared to knowing that your child is not going to make it. And so having had all that wonderful experience, an incredible heroic example for me was absolutely an incalculable gift, and I'm fine.
Well, Rob, we certainly appreciate you sharing that. We've got a little less than a minute left, and you mentioned a lot about children and that, and your child. And so what kind of secrets would you share to children to help them achieve their goals and their dreams and be successful like you have?
I think it sounds hackneyed, David, but it's true. If you're able to cultivate an attitude of gratitude, to sound kind of corny, but it's true, being grateful for all the gifts that we have in our lives, and I believe everybody has them. Sometimes the trick is finding them. And you're talking to a guy who had, by all accounts, a pretty idyllic childhood, brother and sisters, whom I fought with all the time like normal kids. But I had a great childhood. I get to go to work every day and do fun things, and I have wonderful friends, and I get to talk to nice people like you. However, everybody has circumstances that I think they can be grateful for. And I know that because you read books by inspirational people like Helen Keller or the Martin Luther King. We just celebrated, Martin Luther King Day. And it's everybody, despite their dire circumstances. Read the diary of Anne Frank, for God's sake. And there are so many examples of people who seem to have the odds set against them from the moment they were born, and they all ultimately find something about which to be very grateful. I think that attitude has helped me an awful lot. And also, as I get older, I've been told this by numbers of people who have been much older than I, but it's really true. You really can't sweat the small stuff. And you come to find out as you get older that pretty much, unless it kills you or somebody you love, and that is entirely possible, but pretty much everything is small stuff. I don't know how many times I thought, holy, how am I going to pay the rent? I make my living, as an actor, for God's sake. I figured it out.
Well, phenomenal. Rob, absolutely amazing. Well, Rob, high tides raises all boats, and you definitely help raise that tide. You entertain millions. You're a hero. Make sure you go to robpaulsenlive.com. This is David Kogan with Eliances.